She's fearless behind the wheel, crushing grown men in competitions most people have never heard of. At just 14, she was landing sponsorships and dominating rock-crawling circuits across the country. Now she's one of the standout faces on one of YouTube's biggest off-road channels. But who is Katelynn Bourne, really? The girl who cartwheeled off a 20-foot cliff and asked if anyone got it on video. The teen who went from casual trail rides to professional competitions in just 3 years? Her story isn't what you'd expect, and what she's accomplished would make most adults jealous. Most 11-year-olds are just learning to handle a bike. Katelynn Bourne was learning to pilot a custom-built rock crawler through some of the most brutal terrain in southern Utah. Her father, Kevin, had been obsessed with extreme rock crawling for over 2 decades, but the sport requires 2 people, a driver and a spotter, to guide them through impossibly tight courses. Finding a consistent teammate was a nightmare, so Kevin made a decision that would change everything. He put his daughter in the driver's seat. What started as casual father-daughter bonding on local trails quickly revealed something unexpected. Katelynn wasn't just capable behind the wheel, she was exceptional. Kevin would guide her through the basics, teaching her how to read terrain, manage the Jeep's massive power, and navigate obstacles that would make experienced drivers sweat. She absorbed everything like a sponge. By the time she turned 13, they weren't just playing around anymore. They were ready to compete. The father-daughter team started calling themselves Crazy K's, and they began entering wear-rock competitions across the western United States. Southern Utah's unique landscape, with its towering cliffs, jagged ledges, and unforgiving rock formations, had prepared Katelynn for anything a course could throw at her. Her father's 2 decades of experience combined with her natural talent created something special. But nobody expected what would happen when this teenager started lining up against seasoned adult competitors who'd been doing this for years. Imagine rolling up to a competition and seeing your opponent is a 14-year-old girl. Most of the adult male drivers probably weren't worried. That confidence lasted about 5 minutes into the first course. Katelynn didn't just compete against these men, she absolutely demolished them. In her first 6 major competitions, she finished first place 4 times and second place twice. These weren't amateur events either. She was going head-to-head with experienced drivers, many her father's age, who had custom-built rigs worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Rock crawling isn't some casual weekend hobby. Drivers get exactly 10 minutes to navigate their vehicle through a series of coned gates placed on the most insane obstacles imaginable: vertical rock faces, massive boulders, near impossible angles. Hit a cone, points against you. Use reverse, more penalties. The pressure is intense, the clock is ticking, and one wrong move can end your entire run. Kevin would sprint around the Jeep, guiding Katelynn through each gate while she maintained perfect control of a machine that could easily kill her if things went wrong. By the time she was 14, Katelynn had won both the Western and Eastern Series championships, qualifying for nationals in Farmington, New Mexico. She wasn't just some feel-good story about a kid trying hard. She was legitimately the best driver in her class, beating competitors with decades more experience. Her consistency was unreal, her nerve was unshakable, and the adult men she competed against had to face an uncomfortable reality. They'd just been beaten by a teenager. Here's something most people don't realize about professional rock crawling. It's expensive as hell. Custom-built rigs, travel expenses, entry fees, constant repairs, and upgrades. The Bourne family couldn't fund this hobby alone, and Katelynn knew it. So at 14 years old, while most kids her age were worried about homework and social media, she picked up the phone and started calling companies. Not asking for handouts, pitching them on why sponsoring her was smart business, and it worked. She landed Maxxis Tires, one of the biggest names in off-road performance. Then came Warren Industries, Yukon Gear, and Axle, Raceline Wheels, Adams Drive Shaft, and a growing list of others. These weren't small local shops throwing her a few bucks. These were legitimate industry sponsors, the kind professional drivers chase for years. Katelynn secured them before she could even legally drive on public roads. She learned to negotiate, present herself professionally, and understand the value she brought to these brands. Young female drivers in male-dominated motorsports? That's marketing gold, and she knew it. The sponsorships didn't just fund her competition season. They taught her business skills most people don't develop until their 20s or 30s, if ever. She was managing relationships with multiple companies, fulfilling sponsorship obligations, representing brands professionally, all while maintaining her competition schedule. The financial pressure of the sport could have ended her career before it started. Instead, Katelynn turned it into an opportunity to build something bigger. She wasn't just a driver anymore, she was becoming a brand. Every driver knows rollovers are part of the sport, but knowing it and experiencing it are completely different things. Katelynn's first roll happened during a competition in Mason, Texas, at Katelynn Rocks. They were attempting the first gate when the Jeep's balance shifted wrong. Suddenly, the entire rig was on its side. For most 14-year-olds, that would be traumatic enough to quit forever. Katelynn's response? They righted the vehicle. It started up clean, and she finished the course. She didn't even seem rattled. But the worst crash came at Nationals. They were working through an off-camber obstacle, and Katelynn had positioned the rig perfectly. Everything looked good until the rear wheel dropped into a hidden hole. The Jeep went into a full rotation roll, then cartwheeled off a 20-foot cliff. It landed passenger side roof first, crushing the unibody and cage. The impact was so violent it could have easily been fatal. Kevin and his wife were watching, completely freaking out, imagining the worst. When the dust settled, Katelynn was strapped in tight. Sore, but okay. And the first words out of her mouth? Someone better have gotten that on video. Not crying, not panicking, not asking to quit. She wanted to make sure the gnarliest crash of her career was captured. That tells you everything about her mindset. She kept watching other competitors the rest of the weekend despite neck soreness. The crash that would have ended most careers just became another story. By the next season, she was back on course, pushing just as hard. Matt Wetzel had been running his off-road recovery business in Hurricane, Utah for years before starting his YouTube channel. The channel blew up fast, millions of subscribers watching his team rescue stuck vehicles from impossible situations across the desert. But Matt knew the competition scene well. He'd been going to rock crawling events for years, watching drivers push their machines to the absolute limit. That's where he first saw Katelynn and Kevin competing. He immediately recognized something special. Matt reached out, and Katelynn joined Matt's off-road recovery as a content creator and on-screen personality. The fit was natural. She already had the off-road credentials, the camera presence, and the fearless attitude that made great content. Hurricane, Utah, where both Matt's shop and Katelynn's family are based, became the hub for everything. The channel's audience loved her immediately, a young woman who could outwheel most of the guys and wasn't afraid to get dirty doing it. Her role evolved beyond just appearing in videos. She understood content creation, how to engage audiences, and what made compelling footage. Those same business skills she developed securing sponsorships translated perfectly to building her presence on one of YouTube's fastest-growing automotive channels. Matt's off-road recovery gave her a platform to reach millions of viewers who'd never heard of competitive rock crawling. She brought legitimacy and a unique perspective to the channel. The combination worked perfectly, turning Katelynn from a regional rock crawling champion into a recognizable face in the online off-road community. Winning in sportsman class is impressive. Moving up to Pro Mod, that's a completely different level. In 2023, Katelynn made the jump to one of the most competitive classes in rock crawling. Pro Mod rigs are engineered masterpieces. Custom suspension, massive tires, specialized drivetrain setups worth more than most people's houses. The drivers? Veterans with years of professional experience. And here comes a 16-year-old girl ready to run with them. The previous year, she tied for first place at the Grand Nationals in Farmington, New Mexico, while still competing in sportsman class. But Pro Mod was the big leagues. The courses were harder, the competition was fiercer, and the margin for error was basically non-existent. Most people expected her to struggle initially, maybe work her way up over a few seasons. Katelynn had other plans. At the 2023 Grand Nationals, she secured the lowest score on the final shootout course, locking in a second-place Pro Mod finish. At 16 years old, she'd podiumed against the best drivers in the country. The WROC circuit isn't forgiving. Events happen across multiple states: Texas, Colorado, Washington, New Mexico. Each course presents unique challenges, different rock types, varying weather conditions. Katelynn and Kevin were spending over 90 hours on the road annually, not counting the actual competition time and preparation. The physical and mental demands were intense, but she kept showing up, kept competing, and kept proving she belonged at the professional level. Her statement after one competition said everything: "It fills my soul." That's not someone chasing fame or money, that's pure passion. When asked what rock crawling does for her, Katelynn's answer was immediate and simple: "It fills my soul." There's no hesitation, no corporate speak, just raw honesty about what the sport means to her. Most teenagers can't articulate what they're passionate about with that kind of clarity. But when you've spent thousands of hours pushing yourself against impossible odds, you know exactly what matters. The relationship with her father is a huge part of it. Kevin estimated they spent roughly 90 hours on the road together each year, traveling to competitions across the country: Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, New Mexico. Just the two of them, driving through the night, talking about courses, life, and everything in between. They'd driven to Texas together, brought the whole family to Oklahoma, made solo trips to Colorado. How many teenagers get that kind of quality time with their parents? And they're not just hanging out. They're functioning as a precision team where communication can mean the difference between victory and a dangerous crash. But there's something deeper driving Katelynn. She's proven she can compete at the highest levels against anyone. She's secured major sponsorships, built a presence on one of YouTube's biggest automotive channels, and earned respect in a male-dominated sport. Yet she keeps coming back. Not because she has to, but because she genuinely loves it. The stress of the 10-minute clock, the danger of the obstacles, the pressure of competition, these things don't scare her away. They pull her in. She's found something most people search their whole lives for, something that truly fills her soul. So that's Katelynn Boren, a professional rock-crawling champion by 16, a businesswoman who secured major sponsorships as a teenager, a content creator on one of YouTube's biggest off-road channels, and someone who casually asks for video footage after cartwheeling off a cliff. She's already accomplished more in extreme motorsports than most people do in entire careers, and she's barely getting started. The question isn't what she's done, it's what comes next. Will she keep dominating pro mod competitions, expand her presence in the YouTube space, take on new challenges in other motorsports? Whatever direction she chooses, one thing's certain: she's not slowing down. Katelynn's proven she's not afraid of anything, whether it's crushing competitors twice her age or walking away from crashes that would end most careers. And something tells me the best parts of her story haven't even been written yet. Retry.